Hello friend, before starting the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like it. This may seem like a small step, but for us it is the key to success. Enjoy listening.
Victim, Ella. At night, this city becomes something else. The lights that line the streets turn on, yet they do not illuminate. They only make the shadows deeper, more terrifying. This is my home. This is all of your home, and we are all trapped inside it. Shall I tell you about the victim? Fine. Her name was Ella. She was a caretaker of domestic animals. She gathered the street animals, cared for them, found them homes, even though she had no owner of her own. When she smiled, a tiny mole rose on the right side of her face. To look at her was like looking at a small candle in this dark city that was about to be extinguished. We all knew how delicate, how sensitive she was, and we knew that one day this city would chew her up and discard her. He comes, always at the same time. You hear the rasping, death-like sound of his engine from the end of the street. They called him the Butcher. He was not the owner of this street, this neighborhood, or this rotten system, but he was its most blatant face. Eli was feeding one of the homeless animals in the street, a black cat with 3 crooked legs. The Butcher's engine stopped beside her. He said nothing, but he stopped and looked. That look, it freezes you to the bone. Ella felt it in her heart. You would feel it too. The next day, the door of her small clinic was smashed in. Nothing had been stolen inside. Only they had trashed it. Medicines spilled to the floor, objects broken, and worst of all, the things they did to those small animals that had been seeking help. I don't want to describe it in detail, but I will never forget the scream Ella gave when she walked in that morning. It wasn't a sound. It was the tearing of a soul. She left. I offered for her to leave this place, but she said, "They can't keep me scared." How foolish, how brave. For the Butcher, it was a challenge, a kind of welcome. His methods were not crude. They were psychological. A few days later, a dead bird was left at Ella's doorstep. Its head had been cut off. Then messages started arriving on her phone from a single number. No words were written. Just every night at 3:09, a message would come. The sound of that notification in the dark of her bedroom echoed like the report of a gun. She began to fade. Her eyes, those bright eyes, emptied. The cats no longer stirred a sense of play in her. She simply fed them, then shut the door and closed herself in. Nervous from fear, and from being nervous even more afraid. It was a trap built for her, and she retreated into it. And finally, the main blow came. Fake debts were created in her name. They appeared legally valid. Her signature was forged. Liens were placed on properties that didn't belong to her. Debt collectors began to pound on her door. The Butcher's men. They never assaulted her, never hit her. They simply were there, every day, silently, watching her life. One evening, I saw her in the street. The Butcher's car was parked beside her. She approached the car window. The glass was down. I couldn't see who was inside, but I could see Ella's face. It was pale, like a ruined mask. A hand reached out from the car window, holding a scrap of paper. It handed it to Ella. She took it with a trembling hand. The car drove away. She stood there, in the middle of the street, looking at that paper, as if the weight of the whole world lay on her shoulders. The paper offered to buy her clinic and her life in exchange for a debt-free claim. The price? 1 ruble. Formalized, notarized. It wasn't about keeping her. It was about destroying her entirely, extinguishing the last spark of her hope, turning her into nothing. That night, Ela came to me. She said nothing. She only cried. Her crying was even silent, like a shadow, like a lost child. And I could do nothing, only listen. This city works like that. It takes you from yourself, my dear friend. It takes you and leaves nothing in your place. And you ask why no one intervenes, why the police, why the neighbors, because it's legal. It is the system itself. The butcher is merely its most perfect expression. He is in everyone. Everyone is a little butcher. Ayla left. No one knows where she is, whether she lives or not. Others occupy her place now. Other victims. The system seeks its food, and I remain here, behind this dark window, hearing that silent crying she held back on that last night. And I know that next time, it could be me, or you. At night, this city becomes something else, and we become something with it. I will never forget the night I saw her for the last time. It was raining. She had lost herself in that dark, wet street. Her hair clung to her, her eyes hollow, her face blending with the color of night. She moved like a shadow. She was no longer that delicate, sensitive girl. This system had chewed her up and emptied her out. What it left in her place was only a memory, a ghost. She didn't knock on my door. She stood under the window. I saw her. In the light, her face was marble white and hard. I came down and opened the door. I said nothing. She said nothing. She simply came in. Wetness, the smell of rotting paper, and hopelessness came with her like perfume. She shrank into the armchair as if curling up. Her hands still trembled. I offered her a glass of water. She refused. She didn't move her head. She only said, "They are everywhere." Her voice was so thin it almost disappeared beneath the sound of the rain. "They will come for you too." She told me everything. How the debt collectors pursued her. Neighbors peered through windows and mocked her. People in the street passed her by. But worst of all, the feeling she had about herself. She said she felt guilty, weak, because she still resisted. She still wanted to believe in good. And that belief was what destroyed her. That night she left. All that remained were the smell of damp clothes and the untouched water in the glass. And I did nothing. Because what could I do? Go to the police? They were in the butcher's pocket. Seek help? Who could help? In this city, everyone is busy saving their own skin. A week later, I saw a "for sale" sign on the little clinic's door. The windows boarded up, a black scorch mark at the door's threshold. Someone had tried to burn it, but even the fire didn't want to live in that place. Then, the text messages began to arrive for me. From that number. At the same time, 0309. No words, but sometimes very faint, as if in a dream, a cat's meow could be heard. Or so I'd like to think. Maybe it was just a sound from the street. Maybe it was a merciless joke. But I knew it was a warning, an invitation to take Ela's place. Because the system always needs a new victim. And the butcher, he is always patient enough to choose the next person. So I stayed here, behind the window, staring at my phone every night, waiting for that message to arrive, and asking myself, when will it be my turn? When will I stand in the rain like Ela and bid farewell to my own dreams? This city makes you like this. It gives you only two choices, either become the butcher or become his victim. But the real tragedy is that most of us do not even see it as a choice. We just live, we breathe, and we wait. And waiting is the worst thing, because it is not preparing for death. It is death itself. Second by second, moment by moment, night comes again, and I am here again, in the silence, speaking for you. Perhaps you hear my voice, and you know, even a little, the butcher in your own street. Perhaps you are also waiting, but remember, they are not afraid of you. They are only afraid that you will not fear them, and that enrages them. And an enraged butcher, he never goes hungry. Sometimes I find myself in her clinic, in the yard. She is still there, caring, gentle. With her hands she tends to that wounded cat, tucks a blanket over it. But I know this is only my dream, because the clinic is empty now. Yet her spirit remains there. It has soaked into those walls, hidden beneath those floors. She never left this city. She only became invisible. And I carry her fearlessness now. Her pain, it is a kind of inheritance, because I now look at the streets with her eyes. I see her face at every corner. Her trace is in every shadow. The butcher is still out there. The sound of his engine still prowls the streets at night. He never comes alone. Along with him comes the whole system. All that emptiness, all that hopelessness. He is merely an instrument, a symbol. And symbols never die. They only change form. Sometimes I think maybe Ela escaped and was saved. Maybe she lives somewhere far from this stained city, in peace. But then I blame myself, because to think that is to hurt more, because it betrays her memory. It diminishes the suffering she went through. Number, she is here, still here, inside each of us. And sometimes I hear her voice, at midnight, among the passing car noises, when raindrops hit my window. She says to me, "Do not be afraid, but never forget." And I do not forget. I cannot, because to forget would be to kill her again, and I cannot lose her again. So I remain here, behind the window, the street's watcher, the butcher's next target, and I speak to you, because maybe you too are somewhere, sitting behind the same window, feeling the same fear, the same hopelessness. And perhaps, just perhaps, my voice reaches you and you know you are not alone. But be warned, because hoping is the most dangerous thing in this city. It makes you weak, it makes you visible, and being visible is an invitation to the butcher. He is always watching, always listening, always waiting. And finally, he will come. There comes a time for everyone.